Hi, everybody, and welcome to Northwood Replay 2018. It is our 9th episode, meaning we have 8 weeks behind us and 3 weeks ahead of us. We're glad you've joined us this morning in the studios of MCTV. My name is Dale Robbins, along with my co-host, Rich Violette. And each week, as we've done all season long, we have the honor of welcoming into the studio, and he always agrees to attend, head coach of the Northwood Timberwolves. This year is Coach Leonard Haynes. And Len in his 4th year as head coach, having spent a year there as an interim coach 5 years ago, and he's got nearly 30 underneath his belt as a Northwood Timberwolves, first as a player and as assistant coach to the football program. Good to have you back, Coach, as always.
Yeah, great to be back.
We always do it this way, and we talk about last Saturday's game. We're going to meet one of your players you provided for us this morning, and then we're going to talk about the upcoming weekend. First, we got to go back so we don't ever have to go back again. And if I may, our game against Wayne State. They took their opening drive about 75 yards, put 7 on the board, and in their following 4 possessions in the first half, they drove the field and put you guys in a 34-0 hole to start the first 30 minutes of play, having won the game 55-21 was the final score. We said just ahead of our program here, it seemed a little bit like all the switches that you guys had thrown on the last couple of weeks with your offense and your defense and your special teams. Those switches never seemed to get turned on until late in the third quarter. All the switches that had been turned off for Wayne State in their 1-6 record leading up to last Saturday's game, those switches seemed to be turned on. It was really a different club that Northwood took to Detroit, and it was a different club that Wayne State put on the field, I believe, against you guys. Even though they played some good ball games and some close games, that was a different dynamic than I certainly expected. How about you?
Yeah, we told our players all week that Wayne State's a good football team. They lost some close games, like you mentioned, and we knew they were going to be a physical football team, one established to run, play action pass offensively for sure. So we knew that going into it. And so obviously I didn't think they were going to be 55 points better than us.
Right.
And running away with it, So yeah, I was a little disappointed in how we came out, as a football club, and ultimately that lies on me. But our guys and our leaders got to take some responsibility as well, and get themselves ready to play. And so you can't never take anybody for granted, not in this conference.
And you've said that year after year.
Yeah.
There's nothing you take for granted.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what the records are. You got to show up to play every week, and I think our guys understand that.
Sure.
Kind of reminded me of the Joik Bell days a little bit, the way they were gaining some yards. I'm sure, Coach, you move on. You don't dwell on it. You probably didn't even spend a lot of time on film, I'm guessing.
No, we did not. I think we just made some cut-ups of some things, and we moved on. We talked about it, and we put it to rest. And so we wanted to get past that as soon as possible and get going to the next thing. So, and our guys do a good job of that, but, you don't like losing,
No, and correct me if I'm wrong, those players know that they didn't show up.
Yeah, they know. They know.
And they're ready to move on. They're ready to.
Oh, yeah.
To make amends.
Yeah, they are, and we always challenge them, like I told them on Sunday when we meet, we have some guys that day, we go 100 miles per hour, then we have some guys just kind of holding back, and I don't know what that is. You're playing college football, so you should be out there excited, ready to play. And and for the most part, our guys do that. They'll show up, they'll play, they go hard, and I love this team. No matter what, I love this team. I just love what we have building there.
What I love is no excuses.
Right.
That's what I love. Come to play. We can blame the injuries. We can blame this. We can blame that.
Don't blame the weather. That had nothing to do with it.
We can blame a lot of things. Wayne State was a better football team that day.
Yes.
And, no excuses.
My question to you, Coach, is as I was kind of going back over the game itself, and it is your mantra that those games are won and lost on the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Your offensive line against their D, your D against their O. I didn't see anything play-by-play, quarter-by-quarter, this seemed to be a domination role, but that game on film had to break down for you guys that's where that game was won from, because their backs coming in, Hill and Moffitt were averaging about 70 and 60 yards respectively through 7 games.
Right.
They end up with 400 yards of ground game, as Hill runs for 235 yards and averaged over 10 yards a carry on his 23 touches. Moffitt ends up with 142 yards. They were not explosive backs like you have faced explosive backs the first 6 weeks of the season, and your D did a good job. The old line wasn't like you were driving trucks through. Talk about the patience of their game under the conditions, if we may. We were 5 minutes in. Ma Nature copped an attitude, dumped about a half inch of snow and ice and rain on us. We got out the snow blowers and cleared off the yard markers and hash lines. But it didn't seem like they were doing anything really above and beyond what you guys have faced. How does that fall into play with what we saw?
Well, after you watch the film, Wayne State's what we call a pin and pull team, power team, and they run it downhill. We had some guys get out of gaps,
Right.
And those backs have great vision. They cut it back to where no one was, and we didn't have a cutback player there. So we had guys getting out of place for whatever reason.
Okay.
And those backs are good backs. You said we faced some better ones. Those guys are pretty good now. And yeah, leading up to us, they didn't have a whole bunch of yards. But, as you watch them on film, they were a shoestring way away from breaking it.
Right.
And so we knew they were good, but obviously we made them look very good. And so at the end of the day, we had to get some of that stuff cleaned up. Gap responsibility, do your job. There's things we preach as coaches. Do your job, be where you're supposed to be. And sometimes it takes a guy just making a play.
Sure.
And we did not really have that.
And it's usually pursuit, right, Coach? Because with gap protection, whether it's gap or not, you want inside technique with your ends because you want to bounce it with power eye football. And I'm guessing sometimes it's that extra pursuit from the backside of the defense.
Oh, yeah.
And that's effort.
And that's effort. And that's one thing, again, we talked about that Sunday. It takes effort. You got to have 100% effort. That's something you should, if you lining up, putting on, I don't care where you're playing football, you putting on a uniform or that helmet, you should be on that field or court going 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And so it does come down to effort. It does come down to pursuit. It's never over until it's over.
And trusting your brother, because if you're an end and you're doing an inside technique, the backer's got to get on that outside gap, right?
Exactly.
And so you got to your brothers got to trust each other.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And again, it was Wayne State's night for whatever reason.
It was.
And, they got us. And again, we had to get some things cleaned up, and we did talk about that as a staff, and we'll work on those and get them cleaned up.
And I know you will.
Yeah.
Well, amongst all of that, the score is a little deceptive, especially halfway through the third quarter on. We do have highlights, and we'll reference a name as we kind of go through. Now, this is past the half. Certainly after Ma Nature's attitude, about 5 minutes in. It did snow in Detroit.
Yeah,
and,
nice little field coverage there. There's Al Spacuzzi here, picking up this kickoff and get a great return out of this for us. Al's been a workhorse for us.
Sure has.
Some special teams unit and as a receiver. Here's some stuff from our offense. A little pass out here to one of our wing backs.
Cook, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
Cook.
Yep,
Yes,
it was.
Cook. I can see the number, Justin. And then we go score here with Martinez. We drove down the field. We started getting going, like you said, Dale. We started getting going a little bit here offensively.
This is fun.
In the second half, and then you see Martinez kind of scrambling. I'm screaming on the sideline, run. Then he dodges a big D lineman, and he throws a strike for a touchdown to Al Spacuzzi. So.
He couldn't hear it.
And Burgett was working his butt off out there blocking. Too, right to the end.
Yeah. And that's all comes into play.
Yeah.
So then we got Joey in the game here with Brock Franklin running. We get a little bit more. We'll drive down here.
67 yards.
67 yards.
In that drive.
So Brock has really come on as a redshirt freshman. I really like what he's doing. And then here is Joey to Brock handoff. And that kid's a nice hard run.
Little side counter or something.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. And then here we go. It's a triple option right in the end zone with Brock. And so that's how we kind of capped it off offensively on Saturday.
Well, as we talked about, you guys did get your system down, and we'll take a look at just the recap of last Saturday's game down at Wayne State. You see the final there. Quickly, we're going to move to all the game results throughout the GLIAC last week, and some surprises in there, too.
Yep. We'll skip down to Grand Valley, Davenport. That was a close game. I heard Davenport had a chance to win it at the end on a Hail Mary. They got knocked down by Grand Valley, but Grand Valley comes out, sneaks out with a win.
With a minute 39 to play, they win that.
That's right, 19-14.
You think there was some bragging rights going on over there?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure those Davenport kids were jacked up to play over Grand Valley. And Lawrence Tech, a non-conference game there versus Northern Michigan. Obviously a little lopsided. Lawrence Tech been a new team, NAIA school, just starting football.
Right.
Ashland over Michigan Tech, 27-7. Ferris State over Saginaw Valley, which was a good game. That game was tied at one point. Saginaw was up actually at one point, but Ferris State was able to pull away with it.
That brings our conference to this as of today's date.
Yep, starting out here, Ferris State 6-0, sit alone there at the top. Grand Valley is at 4-1, along with Ashland, and they're moving up. Davenport 3-2, along with Saginaw Valley 3-2. Northwood is 2-4. Wayne State 1-4, with Michigan Tech 1-5, and Northern Michigan 0-5. Overall records in the conference, right now you got Ferris at 8-1, Grand Valley 7-1, Ashland at 4-3, Davenport 6-2, Saginaw 6-2, Northwood 2-6, Wayne's 2-6, Michigan Tech, Northern Michigan actually is 2-6, and then Michigan Tech's 3-5.
Coach, I haven't done a lot of research on it because it's kind of hit me in the middle of so many things to do. There was a story broke last week a little bit about Ferris's success in their first 4 games. Is there any update on what's going on with that? And I understand that they had submitted some of the information back to the NCAA. Is there any follow-up on that a week later? Is that
No, I haven't really been following it.
I heard a snippet of it, and then it just kind of went dormant.
Yeah, I haven't been following as much. I know they're handling some stuff with the NCAA.
Sure.
And in terms of an ineligible football player, but that's not my fight. They beat us on the field, so I don't.
We got our own things.
We got our own things.
We got our own things going on. In the few minutes that we have left, let's talk a little bit, if we could, about the bye week that's coming up. You get Saturday down, this coming Saturday. So you had mentioned, where are you going to recruit? I'm guessing it's probably not to Lee Township. Where you and your staff will use this weekend to start to ramp for 2019, because you never stop working towards where you're going, right? What's the next week or so look like for you guys?
For us, I guess just going over the bye week for us is we practice like usual. We practice Monday. Monday was off. Tuesday we gave them. We had practice. It's more of a abbreviated practice. Giving some of our older guys off. Guys that's playing. Tuesday, Wednesday, kind of much of the same.
Right.
And we introduce Saginaw Valley. Do some things for Saginaw Valley, and try to get some younger guys a little bit more reps and some of the fundamentals. We go through a lot of those things with some of the younger guys and trying to help them. And then today we'll have a practice where it'll be more special teams emphasis, and also to be more young guy emphasis. Try to give our other guys a break a little bit, get their bodies a break. And then we'll have Friday and Saturday off. The players will, but the coaches will be out recruiting. We'll be at some games. I guess playoff games start Friday and Saturday.
Here we go.
Yep, so we got coaches going down to Ohio, got coaches, down throughout the state of Michigan. So we'll be doing our due diligence, getting around, trying to see some of these high school football players.
Good football going on.
You got ESPN coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Now, will they come and interview the players and things like that earlier in the week, or do you know?
I have no clue.
He just a head coach.
Just
a head coach for
He worries about the X's and O's,
right? I have no clue. I'm just, X's and O's. They show up.
I'm sure everybody's excited, though. I mean, it's a great time it's a great resume. It's
and
great to look back at.
We're going to talk about that opportunity and how Northwood University got a chance to play in that dance as well in our third segment. But in the meantime, as you always do, you brought us a quality young Timberwolf. He's one of your elder statesmen. We will take you on the defensive side of the football, and we will introduce you. We're going to strip away his helmets. I'm going to make Rich at least try to help him sit down, because he's a lot bigger than I I am. Well, we're going to take you to the defensive side of the ball right here on Northwood Replay, right after these messages on MCTV.
With an amazing studio, fantastic equipment, and a stellar production trailer, there's no better time to become an MCTV producer or volunteer. You can even make your own television show. Check out some of our upcoming training dates and call our station to get started today.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Northwood Replay, Episode 9 means we are 8 weeks into the GLIAC season at Northwood University. Always a pleasure and honor to welcome aboard one of Coach Haynes' leaders. All the youngsters he provides us, and the chair in front of us always fills our bill, and we would like to welcome Zach Gustafson to our set this morning. Zach is an MBA student in his 5th year as a Timberwolf, majoring in finance, and Portage, Michigan is your home. Portage High School. Portland. That's what he meant.
Yeah.
That's what he meant. Look at me. Thank you for correcting. I'm going to check my typos.
No worries.
All right. So anyway, Portland High School. Wow, he's bigger than me too, isn't he? Zach, on to where we want to be. You're in your 5th year at the Wood. You bring some success coming out of the high school ranks. Share for me a little bit as being I've referred to you guys all season long as the Yodas of the club, because every time Rich and I do the call for you, we are constantly talking about freshmen and redshirt freshmen. You've got a lot of youth that are on your coattails right now, learning what it's like to be a college football player, learning what that pace of a game is in the college ranks. What kind of responsibility for you as a defensive player comes to those who are beside you, behind you, and next to you that don't have the experience and understanding of the game like you do? What responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. We're a pretty young team. We have a lot of true freshmen, redshirt freshmen out there playing. And so, I mean, if you think about it like a high school football team, these are freshmen playing on the varsity level. I mean, they just graduated, now they're playing against 22, 23-year-old men out there. So it's going to take some time to adjust. And as a leader, as someone that's been playing for the last 4 years, just bringing them along and sort of showing them the way. Like, if they get rattled, if they make a mistake out there, like just calming them down.
Sure.
Just letting them know, like, this is your job, you know how to do it, and giving them the confidence to tell them, like, hey, you're here for a reason. You can do this, and we believe in you.
That is a great analogy. Freshman because it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference. And that next level, it's another big difference. Yeah, that's a great analogy. First time I've heard that.
A lot of people maybe get frustrated that they aren't playing right away. So let's say like a redshirt freshman or sophomore, they aren't playing. Oh, we've been here for 2 or 3 years. I haven't seen the field yet. I'm like, think about in high school. Did you get moved up to varsity? I mean, there's a lot of people in front of you that have been here for 4 years, been training year round for football. So, I mean, something that people can understand.
That's a great visual. Really is.
I like that. Let's talk football.
Yeah.
You know, I call it all the time. You are so close. I mean, you play that DN spot, but you don't get the glory because that spot doesn't get a lot of glory. You're either turning the play in, turning it out, trying to bounce, you know, so other guys can make plays. Talk about your position for the folks. You know, I'm a former coach, so I know kind of your position. But for the folks that don't know what your job responsibility is, what do you do at that DN position?
Well, I mean, basically in our defense, it's a gap responsibility. So we have 11 people. Everybody has a gap to fill, and so that's their responsibility. I mean, sometimes in the DN, it might be holding the contain, not letting anything outside of me. Sometimes I may be going inside and spilling things, so it bounces outside to our unblocked players, like our safeties or corners. And so, I mean, that's basically what it is. You got to do your job and stay in your gap. And as you're saying, sometimes it's not always the prettiest job. Sometimes I'm just staying in my gap, and even though I'm not making the play myself, I know it's my responsibility, and that if I don't do that, it's going to cost the team, and that it's not going to work out. So even though it's not the best thing to do, I need to stay in my gap and just do my job.
And so when you say gap, you know, for most people, they don't understand gap, you know, A, B, C, D. You're probably C, D gap, right?
Yeah.
And so those are the ones at the end of the line of scrimmage, right? So
yeah, so sometimes you got to hang out there, protect and not anything bounce outside of you. But, for example, let's say there's a puller, an offensive lineman coming at you, and sometimes depending on the play, you sort of have to rocket yourself down there and take them out so the ball can bounce and just take out a player.
Talk about technique.
So for like what I'm talking about, when offensive lineman is coming out to kick you out possibly, you got to see him, and then as he's trying to hit you, you want to be able to get inside of him, so the running back has to go outside of you. So it's pretty much just a lateral step and dipping your outside shoulder underneath the lineman. so that he can't really
So you're
kick
getting
you
inside
out.
technique, so he can't kick you, right?
Yeah, so you have the inside gap, and if you're there, the running back can't go there, obviously, so he has to bounce outside to where the unblocked players are.
And then if you're contained, your gap is opposite,
Outside.
right? Outside, using your
Just sort of
left.
hang out there, just get the offensive lineman at arm's length, and then if the ball running back decides to keep going outside, you can shut him and make a play.
And so most people, I don't mean to keep.
No,
I just love
these
talking
are all good
football with
questions.
Zach.
I'm taking notes, baby.
So, it's not always just about going and sacking the quarterback or going, you've got a job to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why on the stat sheet it's not always, those linebackers get all the get
Yeah.
a lot more of the tackles anyway. But not to say that you don't have a job to do to get
That's because
tackles
Zach
either.
sent him
Yeah.
that way. Right.
But love watching you play for sure. You do a good job out there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're so close so often too. There's so many
close, so
times
often.
I'm like, oh, he had him.
I don't disagree with that.
Quick question I have in your explanation of your duties as a defensive end. You guys talk, and Coach Violette always talks about the technique. And I mean, you work on that for 5 days a week. You watch films. You see what they're going to have to do based on their offensive set and stuff. And technique is really the key to those positions, as it is in every position on the football field. However, at what point did that just become almost instinctive for you, Zach? Because when that play develops at game speed for you, which you play in that speed now, having the time on the field, on the college football field that you do, you don't even think about that. It's just it's like taking a breath or blinking your eyes. At what point does it just evolve in front of you? You just do what needs to be done.
Well, I think it's something that comes with game experience and getting a lot of reps at it. So I can't really point out a specific time where I was like not thinking about it anymore.
Right.
But I still think about it. You still have to actively think about this is what you have to do. Because at this level, when you're playing against such good athletes all over the field, the technique and those little things is what's going to make the difference with you being successful or not. So, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be in the field for about 3.5 out of my 4 eligible years. And so that's a lot of game experience. And so now it feels really natural and it happens quick.
Part of your process.
It's just part of my process, but I mean, it's going through the practice and watching the film. I mean, we film every single practice, and coaches, after every single practice, coaches watching the film, and if you don't take the right
No
step,
place to hide.
he's going to make a note about it. He's going to tell you about it. If you don't have the right hand placement, you're going to hear about it the next day at meeting.
Right.
So it's
Quickly, I'm going to take you off the football field, speak to your Northwood education. You're getting ready to put a wrap on this shortly. What lies next for a finance major from Northwood University for you?
this last summer, I was fortunate enough to do an internship in Chicago. And that went pretty well, and they kind of gave me a soft offer after the internship. So I will be heading back to Chicago, maybe at the same company or not.
Okay.
But so definitely making the move.
So you really like the Chicago area, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I like the Chicago area. I mean, I'm from Portland's a really small town, and I'll be able to get a really good experience in Chicago. I really enjoyed myself there this summer. There's so many things to do. And
if mom and dad coach you, you can drive back to Portland. You don't have to fly.
Yeah.
Fly in and fly out, right?
I mean, it's only about a 3.5-hour drive
That's
from
what I'm
Portland to
thinking.
Chicago. It's not as far as people think.
Yeah,
so.
that's what I'm thinking. That's a drive on a weekend, right?
Yeah, I did it a
Home
couple
cooked
times
meals?
this summer. Yeah.
Well, listen, it was great to have you, Zach Gustafson from Portland High School in Portland, Michigan. We wish you nothing but continued success in the 2 games remaining.
Make sure you keep the axe at the wood, okay?
Oh, yeah, you're putting the pressure on it.
I'm putting it on right now.
It's at the wood where it should be.
Yeah.
That's one of our main goals every year is to keep the X.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Thanks so much, and we will see you a week from Saturday on the field, vying and keeping the axe at the wood. So we'll have Coach Haynes right back, and we'll talk a little Go Mad off weekend in preparation for Saginaw Valley right after this on MCTV.
With an amazing studio, fantastic equipment, and a stellar production trailer, there's no better time to become an MCTV producer or volunteer. You can even make your own television show. Check out some of our upcoming training dates and call our station to get started today.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Dale Robbins, Rich Violette, and head coach Leonard Haynes of the 2018 Northwood Timberwolves. And Coach Zach mentioned, Zach Gustafson, give that young fella a little love. What a gentleman. And he talked about this being his first bye week ever in his career at Northwood.
Yeah,
So, what's up with Zach from a head coach's standpoint?
Zach's a great young man. You know, like you said, he's going to be very successful. He had an internship over the summer.
Right.
He'll have a job in the financial world. But he's been an incredibly positive young man and a great just citizen to have on our football team.
you're always saying you're finding leaders built within, and you reference them often, and he certainly has that kind of stature for the young squad that you're putting on the field.
Yeah, he does. And so, he's been a help for those young guys, and he's been selected as one of our, what we call the 12 leaders. So, he's part of that leadership group that's helping bring some of these young guys along. And so that's what it's about, just keep building the relationships and helping these guys get through tough times as well.
Coach, I've been so impressed with every player you brought in here.
Well,
every one of those guys are quality young men. They're going to be solid citizens.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit, because we don't have a game coming up. We're going to take a week off. We'll touch on the Cardinals a week from today as we ramp up for the Axe Bowl and that type of thing. So let's talk a little bit about the bye week and the offering, what leads up to Go Mad Day. We will be doing that November 2nd as a university again. And last year in 2017, it won us a Division II Outstanding Award. Our athletic director Dave Marsh, actually was awarded the athletic director of the year based on a mantra of Coach Riepma. And the thought was, go make a difference. And we talk about it every broadcast and every show. As talk about Go Mad, and then we're going to hit this coming weekend schedule in the GLIAC. But as we ramp up for 3,000 volunteer hours in a 24-hour period, the difference that makes in our community and in your players.
Yeah, that's great. To have this day where we go out and give back to the community and help out people in need, that's an awesome thing we're able to do as a university as a whole. Everybody is all hands on deck.
Right.
And everyone goes out and help where help is needed. And so, like you said, the thing was started back with Coach Riepma in terms of just go mad mantra, and it's grown into what it is today, and it is far-reaching outside the borders of Northwood University.
Well, and your team is one of the most active groups because you got good numbers, but your team is as active as any other student organization or team on campus. Your guys are all raking a difference, and you guys are all building picnic tables and roofing roofs. And I mean, your boys go anywhere you tell them to go, and you don't even have to tell them.
No. A lot of people sitting to call on us, but aside from the Go Mad Day, but that's part of it. Being part of a community, you want to be able to give back, you want to be able to be visible, and you want to be able to do things with a good heart. And it has to come from a good place. And so, for us, we're always willing to help, and we're always willing to reach out to people in need.
It shows. Yeah. It shows. Even though we're taking a bye this week, there are some games in the GLIAC that have some value going into to week 9.
Yeah, Ashland versus Davenport, that should be a good game. Like I said, Davenport's playing some of their best ball right now. Wayne State is going over to Ferris, Grand Valley. In Saginaw Valley, the Battle of the Valleys, as they call it, that's a big rivalry game between those two, so that should be a very good football game. Michigan Tech, right down the road to Northern Michigan in another rivalry game, which would be big for those guys up in the UP.
Their shortest trip of the season.
Their shortest trip of the season. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So.
And then, of course, we've got the Axe Bowl coming up a week from Saturday. It's always on 1490 AM, and always Stats and Rich and I are on the internet as well that day at GoNorthwood.com. You got any questions for this guy as he ramps up for the Axe?
The bye week affords you some things, right? I mean, it gives you time to get healthy, I guess. Injury-wise, are we okay in the injury department?
Yeah, we, like you said, we give them some guys some rest, get them off their feet, no banging, just get these guys back and just getting them mentally prepared. Yeah. So for us, that's what the bye week has really been, and obviously you can work ahead for your next opponent.
The last question I had for you, Coach, I always wondered this. In this bye week, do you do a little live scrimmage? I know you want to stay healthy. Do you do a little live scrimmage based on Saginaw Valley?
No, we stick to our scout teams. We haven't gone live. When you're so late in the season too, with everyone's banged up, you don't want to really risk anyone else hurt. So now, if the bye week was a little earlier, then we'll probably do some live scrimmages type.
Well,
of
I know
things.
Zach answered it. You film all your stuff anyway during the week, so you get to see it. So that's
you get to see it.
No, that's a little different what you get to do in high school.
Speaking of that, I saw a little film on Dimitri Abro in the defensive lineman with a big old cloth dummy in his hand and some runs we were doing the first of the week, and that little lad still packs a punch, says the defensive lineman,
yes,
who Dimitri went nose to nose with.
Yes,
so listen, as always, thank you so much for this time this morning. Amongst all the things you have to do, this is one of them, and we really respect and appreciate that. Love you. MCTV, Northwood Replay. If it's not on TV, are you seeing it on YouTube? It's there. Are you pulling our podcast? You can do that now. This program is available and libraried everywhere that's virtual, including MCTV in the basement of the Grace A. Dow Memorial Library. We're glad you joined us for this one. We'll be back in 1 week from right now. We'll talk Acts and go away mad. You've heard it here and only here. Go away and make a difference. Thanks, everybody.